When you can't make it to City Hall or the school board meetings, local journalists from Duluth News Tribune will be there to report the facts and get your questions answered. Local news works for you. Stay up to date at duluthnewstribune.com.
Hello, Northlanders. It's Monday, May 8th. I'm Wyatt Buckner, their Duluth News Tribune Minute, presented by Minnesota Power Employees Credit Union.
The average MPECU member saves over $785 a year in better rates and lower fees. And with MPECU, every ATM is your ATM. With their free checking program, you get ATM fee reimbursements at any ATM anywhere in the U.S. Check out Minnesota Power Employees Credit Union's services online at mpecu.com or visit their offices in downtown Duluth, Arrowhead Road, or Miller Trunk Highway.
Now here's a look at today's headlines. Residents may experience a bit of sticker shock as 2024 estimated market value notifications arrive in mailboxes throughout St. Louis County. As tax assessments rise with the increase in home prices, residents are likely to pay more in annual property taxes. An estimated market value is what the property would sell for if offered for sale under typical, normal, and competitive conditions. According to a news release from St. Louis County, the total growth in the 2023 residential assessed market value was up 10.94% from last year. An increasing demand and a short supply of residential properties in the market, compounded by the cost of construction, were factors in the strong growth and appreciation seen for homes. The release stated, there are exclusion and credit programs in place to help reduce property taxes for various types of qualified owners, such as the homestead market value exclusion for a veteran with a disability, and the agricultural homestead market value credit. However, the current Minnesota homestead exclusion law hasn't seen updates since it passed in 2011. Through the program, the state orders local governments to exclude a portion of a home's value from taxation. The more a home is worth, the smaller a break it receives. Only houses worth less than $413,800 apply for the exclusion. With rising home values, even fewer qualify for the homestead exclusion. In the Arrowhead region, median home prices have nearly doubled from $109,000 in 2011 to $206,750 in 2023. Two proposed bills were introduced earlier this year that would increase the value threshold and maximum valuation from the homestead exclusion, beginning with the 2024 assessments. The St. Louis County Assessor's Office is monitoring the progress of the proposed legislation, as well as other potential changes to the exclusions for veterans. UMD softball's red-hot run continues with tournament championship route. Given 3 games to build up ahead of steam at the Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference softball tournament, Minnesota Duluth could not be denied in Saturday's championship game, flattening Augustana 9-0 for the conference title at the RYFSA complex. A 4-hit shutout from Lauren Dixon, her third in 4 tournament games, helped the Bulldogs earn their first NSIC tournament championship since 2002 and an automatic berth in an NCAA tournament. After UMD sent the regular season champion Vikings into the elimination bracket on Friday, the Bulldogs had to wait until Augie got past St. Cloud State in extra innings before their rematch, but stepped on their throats before Augustana had a chance to react. The Bulldogs will play in the NCAA Central Regional Tournament, with selections to be revealed tonight and tournament play to begin Thursday. Joining us now is Dan Williamson with a special guest.
Thanks, Wyatt. I'm joined by one of our colleagues, the great Jay Gabler, who's our arts and entertainment reporter for the Duluth News Tribune. And Jay, there's a story that you're working on that we'll be able to read in Wednesday's print edition of the Duluth News Tribune and find it online prior at duluthnewstribune.com. It's about a book, and the title, Bob Dylan in Minnesota. What more can you tell us?
That's right, Dan. The subtitle is Troubadour Tales from Duluth, Hibbing, and Dinkytown, written by British author K.G. Miles with 4 Minnesota collaborators, Paul Metza and Ed Newman from here in the Duluth area, and Mark Perkansky and Matt Steichen from down in the Twin Cities. The new book is out now, and it's good timing because Duluth is getting ready to celebrate Bob Dylan's birthday once again with the annual Duluth Dylan Fest from May 20th through 28th.
Absolutely. Of course, there's so much Bob Dylan content out there. Was there anything in particular that you took away, maybe something that you didn't know about Bob Dylan?
Yes, these authors are very aware that Bob Dylan has had more books written about him than maybe any other musician besides the Beatles. So there's a lot of Bob Dylan content out there in libraries and bookstores. But these authors really wanted to share some of the stories that have been going around local Bob Dylan fans here in the Northland and Minnesota that maybe people from outside the state didn't know. And as someone who's read a lot of those Bob Dylan books myself, I did pick up some tidbits I did not know. There's a crossroads in Hibbing where train tracks cross a road and where a young Bob Dylan almost met his demise when he was out on his motorbike with friends and a train was going by. As we know, he survived. It was a close call. So there's a important crossroads there in Hibbing where history might have taken another turn. I was also interested to learn that the cover of Bob Dylan's 1983 album Infidels was actually taken in Minnesota. You would never know it because it's a pretty close cropped image of Bob Dylan's face, but according to this book, it was taken at his ranch, or farm more precisely, that he still owns just northwest of Minneapolis.
Very interesting. For our audience, I imagine there has to be a lot of things, but anything in particular you hope they take away from this article?
Yeah, the authors, both in the book and then in the interviews that I did for this feature, got to the question of Bob Dylan's relationship with Minnesota and Minnesota's relationship with Bob Dylan. When Bob Dylan first became internationally famous back in the early 60s, at that time he was telling a lot of sort of tall tales about himself and, told stories that weren't entirely true, kind of obfuscating some of the truth about his origins. And I think from that period, some people in Minnesota kind of got rubbed the wrong way and thought, oh, he's ashamed of us. He doesn't think it's interesting to be from Minnesota. He wants to make up other stories. And so some people kind of thought, well, who needs him if he's going to have that kind of attitude towards Minnesota? But, that only lasted a little while. It was sort of the time when he was making this mysterious persona. And the book really recounts not just the impact that Bob Dylan's youth and upbringing in Minnesota had on him, but the way he's really kept connections throughout his life, including owning property here now. He owned the Orpheum Theater in Minneapolis for a while. He's come back often to the Northland, obviously still has family and friends up here. And so I think the book should, if you haven't yet, feel like you've been given permission to embrace Bob Dylan as a true Minnesotan and as someone who is not ashamed to be a Minnesotan and is open about that fact and actually peppers references to Minnesota and the Northland throughout his lyrics, throughout his career. Now you have permission. We can claim Bob Dylan as a Northlander.
This is so cool. Thanks so much for your time, Jay.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
And again, you can find Jay's article in Wednesday's print edition of the Duluth News Tribune. You can also find it online prior at duluthnewstribune.com. Wyatt, back to you.
Thanks, Dan. Now here's a look at your forecast, brought to you by the News Tribune's Northlandia podcast.
Happy Monday, Duluth. Occasional showers expected throughout this gloomy day with temperatures only around 48 degrees by the afternoon. Winds, of course, from the east about 10 to 15. Overnight tonight, still continuing to be cloudy with a chance for a few spotty showers, 41 degrees for your overnight low. And then on Tuesday, starting off the day with a chance for some showers, decreasing clouds, though, as we get into the afternoon hours and temperatures into the upper 50s by the end of the day. For your Wednesday, another chance for a few spotty showers during the morning and then afternoon partial sunshine with temperatures in the upper 60s, back down to the mid 60s on Thursday with another chance for some rain developing Thursday night and into Friday with 50s to follow. I'm Storm Tracker and meteorologist Jesse Ritka.
Thank you to the Northlandia podcast for their support. The weekly podcast explores curious and unique stories here in the Northland. In the latest episode, reporter Joe Bowen shares the story of Bluther and Razzleberry, the homemade and now retired mascots of PBS North. You can find that episode and others at duluthnewstribune.com or wherever you also get this podcast. Reporting for today's episode was done by Brielle Bredston, Brandon Veal, and Jay Gabler. Thank you for listening to the Duluth News Tribune Minute. Have a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.